invasion. For those that have heard me talk about this before, I do not like bugs. You know, there's people that have things like with mice or snakes or what have you. No, not a big
Some say rock is dead.
Stop.
We say not on your life. Drunk Nation, the beating heart of rock and roll. Where every day, each and every one of you proves that rock will never die. And now, your host, the only man who ever wondered, what does a rainbow in the dark actually look like?
Fascinating.
Eddie Sirius XM Faction Talk.
Speaking of Rainbow in the Dark, don't forget the Deal Cancer Fund. Next fundraiser is now just a couple weeks away, the 31st of this month in Los Angeles at the Autry Museum, headlined by Lita Ford, hosted by yours truly. So just because they said Rainbow in the Dark, that came into my mind. So I figured I'd throw that out at you right at the top of the show because it is obviously for a great, great cause as well. So anyway, welcome everybody to Trunk Nation. We have a Thursday edition, 14th day of May, 2026. It is 3 o'clock Eastern, noon Pacific on this Thursday. And thank you for joining me and hanging out with me as always to talk rock music. I am under attack at the moment. Just looking to my right and my left. It is that time of year. The time of year of a bug invasion. For those that have heard me talk about this before, I do not like bugs. You know, there's people that have things like with mice or snakes or what have you. No, not a big fan of those things either, but bugs are my thing. I'm not a big, I do not like bugs. Even if they are harmless, I'm not a bug fan. So where I am in New Jersey, in my studio here, which is in a basement. There are, in New Jersey and certain parts of the Northeast, there are these things that are commonly referred to as cave crickets. Apologize if you heard me talk about this before, but when I did a year or so ago, it's touched off the whole thing because people started telling me about their issues. But yeah, they're a cross between a cricket and a spider. I believe they were imported into this country in shipping from China or something. They are harmless. They don't bite. But they are the creepiest looking things you ever saw. And their defense mechanism, if you try to get over them or swat at them, is they jump at you with these extremely long legs. And, you know, here in New Jersey, in this part of the country, everybody has basements pretty much. So they come out, creep up on you, and freak you the hell out. And right around this time where the weather is starting to get a little warmer and a little damper, no matter what you do, and you call the exterminator. I mean, you can knock them down, but you can't knock them out. So if you hear me lunge, because I got this big ass can of spray right next to me, right next to the microphone, I looked for him out the corner of my eye and I saw one just before I came on the air. I'm like, oh, it's the season. But I'll be running from these things because I'm headed back west on the weekend. And so out there in Vegas, we just have to worry about snakes and scorpions and all of that. It's always something somewhere. You know, I'll never forget Carl Bell, the guitar player from the band Fuel, band that I love. We were on the Summer 99 cruise about a year and a half ago, and Carl and I were having dinner, and we were talking about travel in other countries, and he goes, we're talking about Australia, where I've never been. And he has. And he's like, you know what's crazy about Australia, though, man? He goes, there's more things in Australia that can kill you than anywhere else in the world. I was like, what? Say, oh, my God, there's everything from crocodiles to snakes to poison spiders to kangaroos that'll punch you in the face. It's like, I never thought of that. Hey, sign me up. Let me get to Australia. He's like, oh, yeah, it's crazy, dude. You could go anywhere and get killed by anything coming out of the bushes. Oh, great. Sounds good. Great place. Let's go. Let's fly for 22 hours to have that. Oh, man. So the point is, it's always something. This is the least of the issues, these things, but they're just creepy. But anyway, how's that for a show open today? All right, let's get to what we're doing. Couple things here. First of all, yesterday's show, if you were listening, where I focused on tribute bands and had a member of one of the biggest tribute bands in the world, Ian from the band Brit Floyd, on, touched off a whole thing. You know, online discussion, debates about tributes, which is great. It's great that this can, you know, this show can spark things like that. And of course, you know, so many people have tribute bands at every level. So the various tribute bands were talking. And it just was interesting to see that dialogue. And a lot of people started calling in yesterday after we talked to Ian about Brit Floyd and talked about tributes and the different kinds of tributes and the ones that impersonate the bands right down to the look versus the ones that don't do that. And we can get into more of that if you'd like later on today in the show, or of course tomorrow when we go into Free for All Friday. But it was an interesting discussion, and it was really very cool to go into that world a little bit and talk to a member of a band that is playing major venues with major production, as we talked about yesterday. So if you missed that interview, it is on the app, as is the interview on Tuesday with Jason Newsted, former bassist of Metallica. Great stuff in that. That one continues to reverberate out there as well, so that's on the app also. The Newsted interview, we put a bunch of video clips up on the various platforms from that interview. We'll put full video up sometime in the next, week or so. So you can dive into that a bit. Today on the show, we have a guest as well, and that guest is none other than the founder of Journey and a frequent guest on the show, Neal Schon, extraordinary guitar player. He does indeed check in live with us in about 20 minutes. Journey on their final tour. They are on a farewell lap, if you will, calling it the Final Frontier. Yesterday or 2 days ago, they announced 40 additional shows, U.S., Canada, a couple shows in Hawaii that's about to be announced if they aren't already. So a lot to talk to Neal about and get caught up with Neal. He was supposed to be on with us about a week ago. He rescheduled, and he will join us today. Of course, I saw Journey in Vegas a couple weeks ago. It was a bit of an odd show because it wasn't a traditional arena show. It was outside at a pool. It was a smaller setting than they would normally play. It was for the anniversary of a casino, but it was still cool. And we'll get caught up on all things Journey, with a band that 50 years into their career just seems to keep getting bigger and bigger. At least their music does. It's just incredible. And of course, tying in with tribute acts, as we talked about yesterday, Journey found their singer that has anchored the band as the lead singer now for a long time through a tribute to Journey. There are many tributes to Journey. And there is my buddy Robbie Hoffman has a good one called Voyage. I mean, there's a ton of them. And they found their singer, Arnel, through a Journey tribute in the Philippines. Or he was singing Journey songs. I don't know if he actually had a full-on tribute, but regardless, there's a link there as well. So interesting stuff. Last night in New Jersey, I went to see Alter Bridge, who played at a theater not far from my house called the Wellmont, old movie theater. They converted to a music venue a number of years ago. It's a cool spot. And it was great to see Alter Bridge. You know, they've been on a hiatus for a while because, as we all know, 3/4 of Alter Bridge is Creed. So when Creed activated, it kind of pushed things back a little bit in terms of Alter Bridge activity. And as I've talked about many times, there is a lot of cross-pollination between Creed, Alter Bridge, Miles Kennedy. Miles does Alter Bridge solo and also sings for Slash. The three guys in Creed and Alter Bridge, have those two bands together. Brian, Scott, and Mark. Mark also does the Sinatra thing, also does the solo band, Tremonti. So it's like a lot of like trying to align schedules with all these different factions of the band. But anyway, they are in Alter Bridge mode right now and currently touring in the US. And I can give you a little tip here, because the Alter Bridge dates that are announced now and that the tour that's currently happening is not headed anywhere, is not playing anywhere in the West at the moment. But expect that to change. Expect another run of Alter Bridge shows later in the year to be announced very, very soon. That will include many of these cities that they have not already done or are announced to do. Phenomenal band, phenomenal people. And I got down, could not. So there's two opening acts. The two opening acts last night in New Jersey were Tim Montana, who started. I saw Tim backstage, said hello. I did not have a chance to see him play, but I did see him on Summer of '99. And Filter were the direct support to Alter Bridge, who I also saw. Both were on the Summer of '99 cruise recently. I saw them both on that. I did not get a chance to see them play last night because I got there a little bit later, and going to a show in my hometown area of New Jersey is quite a thing for me. Because going to a rock show in general, I tend to pretty much feel like I know everybody there or they know me. Going to a rock show in my home area that I grew up in, there is a ton of people that I know or know me, and it's like, yo, dude, yo, and it's just a whole thing. So even walking in outside, I stopped and talked to tons of people, whether I knew them or they knew me. It was just really cool. So it was a fun time just going into an environment like that. I'll say this, and I said this to the Alter Bridge guys when I saw them last night. Second time I saw that band in that venue, they played there about 2 years ago, and not only do they pack the place out, which is great, but the people get lathered up. I mean, it was like old school frat house type crowd in there. And Alter Bridge draws a really interesting fan base. They've got some really young people. They've got like mid-age people. They got people even older than me. Their fan base demographic is really all over the map, which is actually great, for them. So it was a bit of a Jersey reunion for me there last night, and it was really a lot of fun. So I made my way backstage. I saw the guys, and Brian, the bass player, said to me, "You got to bring us on. You got to introduce us." I'm like, "All right, well, I'll trade you. I'll do the intro for some T-shirts." So we made a deal, and I got some free merch for a stage intro, which of course I would have done anyway. I was just joking around. So I went out, brought the band on. They came out and played about a 90-minute set, absolutely crushed. I was telling the audience and I was telling the band they have a good problem right now because they have about 8 studio records, and including the new one. And it's getting difficult to pick a set list. As these bands, these newer bands that we love, or if you love them, and they are newer as in the last 20 years, it's great that they put out a record every couple years, but as each one comes out, obviously the set list gets harder to make to keep everybody happy. Because if you're really into a new band and you've been into them since day one and they're 2-3 records into their career, if they are doing a headline set, you're going to get pretty much most of the songs you want to hear. But then as that catalog expands, it gets harder and harder to work everything in. Those guys were telling me last night there's actually 3 albums in their current catalog that they don't do anything from right now just because you can only play for so long. So that's the challenge as these bands evolve, but good problem to have. Band sounded amazing. All the classics were in there, like Blackbird and Watch Over You and Metalingus and just killer. Some new tracks were in there as well. Miles sounding insane as usual. Him and Mark dueling on guitar, unbelievable. Scott and Brian, incredible rhythm section. It was great. It was totally great. Miss those guys. Again, even though I just saw 3/4 of them on the Creed cruise, this is a totally different band with different material. So it was great. And it was funny. There was a moment where I think it was Brian, the bass player, messed up and they had to restart the song. And Miles came to the mic. He goes, well, at least you know it's live. Because at least we actually have a real live band and we actually are playing and our bass playing is totally live because he just messed up. And I commented to them afterwards when I went back and saw him after the show. I was like, that's just so great that you do that. I said, it is great. I said, as a fan, I love when bands make mistakes because it just shows they're actually doing it the right way. There should be mistakes, and they've agreed completely, obviously. So great band, great night of music. Again, I caught the last one or two Filter songs. I did an interview with Richard Patrick on the Summer of '99 cruise. Great guy. Didn't get a chance, though, to watch much of them, but I did see all of Alter Bridge's set. And then after the show, we hung out and talked for a while. And they're on their way, continuing the tours out there, I think, in the U.S. for another couple weeks. It'll stop down, and then it'll resume, like I said, to be announced more shows. Miles was also telling me the new Slash album, which, of course, he's the singer in The Conspirators, is done, mixed, finished, done. And him and Slash have both raved to me about this coming record, which will come out next year. And I say that because that is out of character for both of them. They are not big self-promoters, but they are both super pumped about this new record made. So Slash is in GNR mode, Miles is in Alter Bridge mode, and next year they will come together for Conspirators activity. And of course, Brent Fitz and Todd Kearns, also in the Slash band, are now in Triumph mode. So as you can see, all of these guys multitask, and they all carve out certain times where they kind of shift gears and do whatever they're going to do. So there's that recap from last night. Schedule-wise, Free-for-All Friday tomorrow. Monday, probably Free-for-All to open the week. Tuesday, confirmed, Alice Cooper in studio in Vegas. We are not going to be able to do it from the Wynn studio in Vegas because it is previously booked, but we'll do it from my home studio. So how cool is that? I'm going to have Alice Cooper in my house on Tuesday. I've had Geezer Butler in my house.
Alice is Thursday.
It's Thursday. My bad. Thank you, Joel. Trying to keep it all straight. Alice in studio from my home studio on Thursday next week. And then that night, hold on. Neal Schon's texting me. Okay. Just had to get back to Neal because he's calling in shortly. Alice coming to my home studio for a live show with us Thursday of next week in Vegas. That night, Alice resumes the shows with Chris Angel. 3 shows, Thursday, Friday, Saturday next week. They also announced 4 more shows now, November and December. So we'll talk to Alice about all that. He'll be on with us next Thursday, live from Vegas. Next Tuesday, our guest will be Stuart Copeland. Hold on, I got to text Neal again. Sorry, you guys. I'm sorry, you guys. Like I tell you all the time, this is the stuff that takes the time and eats me up. Oh, man. Just navigating things. That's all. There's no problem. He'll be on with us. It's all good. All right. So Stuart Copeland of The Police, first-time guest, joining us on Tuesday. And then we'll see what else we'll pull together. We were supposed to have Youngblood on that slot early next week, who is in Vegas, but he is now not doing interviews and is rescheduled all press. So unfortunately, that's not going to happen this time around. But of course, I did have him on the show not long ago. You can see that on YouTube and hear it on the SiriusXM app. And I'll be seeing him live for the first time for his own full show in LA, where there's also going to be a semi-private acoustic show the next day. So I'm going to be seeing him 2 days on Memorial Weekend in LA. So we'll try to slot some other stuff in as well on some of these open days as we head into the holiday weekend next week. But Tuesday, Stuart Copeland. Thursday, Alice Cooper. Not a bad way to run a week next week. And again, we will, as always, keep you posted because, like I always tell you, stuff is always shifting, moving, and we do our best to accommodate and make it all work. Okay, real quick, some news. We'll get to Neal Schon, and then we will get a jump start on Free For All Friday with all of your calls after the interview today. You want to pick up on any of the stuff from this past week, anything goes as we, again, get ready to head into Free For All, which will be officially tomorrow. But we'll get started on it early today whenever we wrap up with Neal. Not a lot of news today. The Rolling Stones put out a video for their new single called In the Stars from their coming new album, Foreign Tongues. The video, first of all, the song is great. I'm telling you, it's amazing to me, the Stones in their early 80s. The fact that they still make new music is incredible, and the fact that it's good is incredible. Like, the last couple records have been great, and this song is no exception. In the Stars, brand new Stones track, now an accompanying video, and the interesting thing about the video is they used what appears to be AI technology to make themselves look about 25 years old. I'm not saying clearly they were going for that. I'm not saying they were, they did work to themselves to pretend like that's what they look like now. They clearly made it like a 1973 club that they were playing in, and they de-aged themselves using AI technology, it would appear. So it's a throwback video for a brand new song for the Stones. Mick Jagger and the Stones would be prime candidates for some sort of avatar show. I don't know what they feel about their relationship with AI. Everybody continues to figure this out and evolve it and see what they're going to do and how they feel about it. But you're seeing a lot of artists, even a band as old as the Stones, now incorporate some of that in the way they've made a new music video. Really interesting to see as this continues to roll out, how it's used, good, bad, indifferent, and what comes of it as it moves at an amazing pace with an amazing impact. Paul McCartney, the latest artist to speak out against the use of cell phones. Paul was speaking more specifically about when fans meet him, saying he wishes fans would just put their phones away, and said being asked to take a photo all the time makes him feel like, quote, a performing monkey. Now, I know when Paul McCartney went to the SiriusXM Metallica event in the Hamptons a couple years ago, I know people that got photos with him. He was there. He does not like doing it, but apparently he did do it there. I know Mike Portnoy told me a story once where he met McCartney at a meet and greet. They told everyone no photos, but from across the room, I think he said his daughter snapped a photo of him talking to McCartney just to have it. Somebody in security saw it, came over, and made her delete the photo. So it's been a thing with him for a long time, even though he will do it from time to time. But McCartney, there's a lot of dialogue about cell phones at concerts and where people land on that, who's banning them, who's asking people not to use them, who's saying go for it, shoot all you want. McCartney speaking more about if you have the opportunity to meet him, say hello and do not ask for a photo. Good luck with that. American Music Awards happening in Vegas, Memorial Day, May 25th. There's never a lot of rock at this. I often call it the American Pop Music Awards because, like every other award show, it is just completely devolved into nothing but a pop music extravaganza. But they are going to honor Billy Idol with a Lifetime Achievement Award. You can see it 8 p.m. Eastern on the 25th of May. If you happen to be in Vegas on the holiday weekend, the event is at the MGM Grand Garden and is ticketed and available to the public. Get well wishes to Eric Bloom, guitarist, vocalist of Blue Oyster Cult. Eric Bloom announced that he is recovering from a non-life-threatening surgery. Undisclosed as to what he had surgery for. Eric Bloom is 81 years old. And he, along with Buck Dharma, the two original members of Blue Oyster Cult, who are still active and still touring. While Eric Bloom recovers from this surgery, he is going to miss a few shows. Walking in as his replacement, best known from the band Utopia, Kazim Sultan. Eric Bloom hopes to rejoin BOC for upcoming shows as soon as possible. BOC are scheduled to play in Vegas at a resort right near my home there called the M. It's later at the end of the year, but I know Eric and Buck, and I am going to reach out to them when that show gets closer and see about them coming by either the home studio or the Wynn. Haven't talked to them or had them on in a while. I think we had Eric on, or had Buck on for the last BOC album, which was a couple years ago and which was also really good. And Blue Oyster Cult, another total rock and roll Hall of Fame snub that never gets talked about for being snubbed. You may remember the industrial band Stabbing Westward. I remember them. I played them like crazy on radio at the time they came out about 30 years ago with their album Wither, Blister, Burn, and Peel. They've announced some dates, July 9th through 25th. Also, speaking of Vegas, this is not a rock story, but it's just an incredible story. This weekend is the annual EDC, which stands for Electric Daisy Carnival. It's an EDM fest in Vegas at the Speedway. Again, this is not my music at all, but it's staggering how big it is. This event projected to draw 500,000 people in Vegas this weekend. It is not on the Strip. It's outside of the Strip, but everybody stays on the Strip, obviously, and goes in and out from it. Traffic nightmares. The rich people helicopter in and out from it. It is an insane scene that goes basically round the clock, even overnight. So I'm sure nobody in my audience cares or is going to this, but if you happen to be going to Vegas this weekend, be advised. Happy birthday to David Byrne of the Talking Heads today. Joel, anybody else? Birthdays? Anything you want to jump in on?
Birthdays, yes, I did have two more. CeCe DeVille and Mike Inez are celebrating birthdays today. CeCe is 64. Mike turns 60 today.
Happy birthday to both of those gentlemen who I know quite well. I haven't talked to Inez in a while. Allison Chain's kind of been on the down low for a while. But Mike's a great dude. Obviously played with Ozzy as well. And, yeah, great stuff there. Happy birthday to both of those gentlemen. And CeCe, you know, every time I see CeCe, I'm like, come on the show, man. Come say, I got nothing to talk about. He lays low. Love the guy, though. So happy birthday to Poison's guitarist. All right.
Things Eddie Trunk.
Scott in Rochester wants to talk about Greta Van Fleet.
Hey, Eddie, honored to talk to you.
Go ahead, John. What do you got today?
I can assure you that the live music scene is alive and well down here in New Orleans.
What do you got?
How do you compare the music today versus what was being made in the 90s, 80s, and 70s?
A lot of people are connecting with it and saying they really dig it as well.
Trunk Nation. Sirius XM. Faction Talk.
Talking rock with you every day here on Trunk Nation. Faction Talk, Sirius XM Channel 103, live or on demand using the Sirius XM app. Always great and always appreciate this legendary, phenomenal guitarist and founder of Journey giving us some time here on the radio show. And we're going to visit with him right now. I got a chance to see Journey in Vegas a couple weeks ago in an interesting environment, which we'll talk about here. They are out there on what is the final tour, the Final Frontier Tour, additional 40 shows just announced, and they're currently about to start up again, playing tomorrow, I think, in Tampa. The touring resumes. Joining us now live on the show is Journey's founder, Neal Schon. Neal, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing great, Eddie. How are you, bud?
I'm good, man. Thank you for the time. And yeah, I guess we'll start with the show I saw a couple weeks ago in Vegas. I'm just happy I didn't fall into the pool.
That was a little crazy, man. I was a little bit surprised when we got on stage and looked out. It was we hardly ever do like it was a private, not really private, but it was a different kind of gig. It was a pool party, as you said, and a lot of people there. I'm sorry though that you didn't get back. I gave you VIP passes, and I saw you took a picture with Mike, our photographer. So I don't know why he didn't bring you back, but you were supposed to be able to get back, and I didn't get to see you. So I felt like I should give you a call today.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. And yeah, I don't know what happened there, but it's all good. And I was just happy I appreciate you getting me into the show to see you play. And it was been nice to say hello to you, but we'll do that the next time for sure. But yeah, it was funny. And I talked about the show on the air because it was, in the business for you guys, it would be known as an underplay because it was a much smaller place than you usually play, but it was the anniversary of the casino and it was a great setting. It was just funny because, as you said, it was packed out there and it was all around the pools. It was outside. And Neal, I was watching people and they're vibing to the music and their heels were like right on the edge of the pools, and of course they're drinking, and I'm like, oh man, somebody's going in. I couldn't believe nobody went in. It would have made for a good moment to see some people fall in there, actually.
It definitely looked festive out there, It was hard though to play. We've gotten used to this very big stage where we're on two different levels, and it was quite challenging when we first started to be able to hear everybody correctly and get the monitors happening, not only in-ears, but, side monitors because it's so spread out. And then to go to such a small little stage, the only thing I could hear on stage that night was Dean. And he's like bashing the shit out of his drums. He's like, I'll go, bro, take it easy, man. It was like, and the PA then, it sounded like it was going to blow up too. It was curled at the PA. The bottom of the PA was curled down. And when I finally looked up, I was playing a guitar solo by myself, and it was like I couldn't get away from the guitar. It was so freaking loud. And I looked up, and I saw the speaker, and I was like right there on the PA, curled at the stage. So it was a little different. But you got to come check out one of the bigger shows that we're doing. We have great production this year. And I'm really happy about the fact that we're, extending it because it's been so successful. And we're having a blast, playing longer, usually 2.5 hours, if not longer. Some nights it goes into 3. And so it gives, everybody a chance to stretch out, and we play a lot of material. And, it's the first time that we've actually gotten to do this. And, I've been wanting to do it for years. It's just do an evening with Journey,
Well, in Vegas, you had actually a Zeppelin tribute come out for like 20 minutes and just do a quick set. When you do the regular shows, are you having any support, or is it all just you guys the whole night?
Yeah, it's just us. Yeah, I wasn't used to having support. And even though those guys sounded really good, I was like, why are we having a Zeppelin tribute?
Yeah. Well, it was certainly songs everybody knew. Everybody knew.
I've seen Robert Plant before that in Berkeley, and man, his band sounds phenomenal. He sounds so good right now with the guys that he's playing with. It's a different spin on Zeppelin songs, but it sounds amazing.
Yeah, I saw a clip of him singing rock and roll the other day on social media. I'm like, man, he's still there. He's still got it. He could still do it. It got me thinking. It's like, could they do one more show? I mean, I don't think it's going to happen, but it looks like Robert could do it if he wanted to, vocally for sure.
He sounded like a record the night I saw him, and I think he's very smart. He's the band he got. I went back and talked to him afterwards, and, apparently they were all from England, and he saw him in some pub over there and started hooking up with them. But Susie, the girl that sings all the high stuff with him, they blend so well together. It's almost like as good, as Chris Stapleton and his wife. I mean, they sound like one. And he sounded phenomenal. I was really blown away by the band.
Hey, I want to ask you a quick thing, a bunch of stuff I want to hit you with and talk more about the live shows too that you've got coming up. But, we mentioned that there was a Zeppelin tribute that played before you in Vegas, and there are a ton of Journey tributes out there. And yesterday I did a show where I talked about tribute acts in general, because I had a guy on here yesterday who is in a Pink Floyd tribute that is playing 2 nights at Red Rocks. I mean, that's how big they've gotten in Colorado.
Right.
So I found it interesting, and then it just got into a broader conversation about tribute acts. It seems like even if I go to a House of Blues or something, like every other band on the marquee, tribute act. Of course, you found Arnel singing Journey covers, and I just was curious, and there are a lot of Journey tributes. What is your take overall on the whole tribute thing? Are you for it? Are you against it? Are you indifferent about it? How do you feel about it?
I used to chase it quite a bit because I thought, wow, these guys, I mean, what are they doing our stuff all the time, And a lot of them are selling a lot of tickets, and I'm thinking, I don't know if this is cool or not, but I've come to believe that, at this point, it's been going on for so long, and I do believe we have more tribute bands, Journey tribute bands, than any band in the world. Honest to God, every day I see a new one pop up. I think they keep the music alive, and it doesn't seem to hurt us a bit. We're selling out by ourselves, and we're having a great experience.
Yeah, no, and I think the difference, it's interesting with Journey too, because with you guys being on basically a final tour here, when Journey and some of this music is retired, like Pink Floyd's not active anymore. So for them, I think that helps too, that the band's not going anymore. You guys are still active and you have a lot of tribute bands. Wait until you're not doing this anymore. It's probably going to double the amount.
Who knows, man? Who knows what's in the future, Eddie? Everything is changing rapidly. We're actually getting along very well and actually having fun. And so, Journey is just 53 years of my life I put into this band. And like any family, it becomes a family. And you go through different phases. We're having fun right now. That's all I know.
So are you kind of alluding to the fact that maybe it won't end? Do you think it'll keep going?
Well, I'm not going to end. I'm certainly not going to end. I love B.B. King, and B.B. King played until he wasn't here any longer, and I intend on doing the same thing. I mean, I've grown so accustomed to being on tour and love playing live from, being very young and joining Santana. And, if I'm not playing live, I'm really, I get cagey. I feel like I'm caged up. I love, the connection with the audience and playing live. The studio is great. You can experiment a lot and try a lot of ideas, but you can also do it live in different situations. Like I'm really enjoying what we're doing right now because we're stretching out quite a bit and we're doing things that we wouldn't normally do in a 90-minute set that has been like that for years. And so in a 90-minute set, you're kind of locked down. You have to play the hits. People, pay to come and hear the hit tunes, and you don't get a chance to do much of anything else. And this band is capable of a lot of different stuff, I think, that people are seeing right now. And so it's a bit of the old, a bit of in between, and a bit of the new,
Well, I totally picked up on that in the set that I saw in Vegas, which, again, I know that wasn't your normal set or the normal stage or anything, but I picked up on that because, yes, you had the big hits in there that you've got to do, but you guys did stretch out. You did jam. You did play some real early stuff. I also noticed that Arnel would go off a few times and you'd have somebody else sing a song in the band, whether it was Dean or whether it was Jonathan Cain or whether it was, I think one of your other guys even sang lead on a track or two.
Jason,
so you really opened it up some, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's there's no reason not to use everybody else's voices. They all sound great in their own right. And, it gives Arnel a little breathing room with quite a long show. And the jamming helps too. The fact that it just doesn't go bam, 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 bam from song to song to song. And, you always got your haters out there that are going to go, well, what did they do? Play another 20-minute guitar solo? Yeah, that's right, dummy.
Well, you know what? I loved it, and I thought it was so cool that you brought that element was going on, and your playing is still top notch, man. When I think about it and how long you've been doing this, and you saying you have no plans of stopping, I mean, it's amazing because for a guy that's been doing this, whatever you said, 53 years or whatever, you are still only 72 years old, which is a kid still when you consider the Stones just put out a new record. So, you can easily have another 10 years of runway easily, especially you still got your chops, which is so important.
Oh, definitely. I play a lot, Eddie, when I'm home. I play like 2-3 hours a day. I think that's the main thing. You need to keep limber. You need to keep playing. If you stop playing, that's when everything kind of goes south, And, I'm at home jamming all the time, working on guitars and coming up with new riffs and ideas for songs. And so, I'm still feeling very creative, and I love playing, man. I'm here to play, more than anything else. A lot of people say, oh, it's a money grab, it's this, that. No, I'm here to play. It's always been to play. And so I just love music.
Yeah, and anybody that is that follows you on social media knows that you often will post videos of you just sitting there shredding away and playing some different stuff. I think that's really cool that you do that because it not only shows how committed you still are to it, but also gives some of the people out there that follow you a chance to see all the different stuff that you play and how you go through your process. I think it's great.
Yeah, I just don't think it should be, music is, you have all sorts of different types of music, right, and different genres. And I grew up with all of them, especially, with Carlos being like a mentor to me when I was very young. He completely opened my head up to so many different types of music that I didn't even know it existed back then. And he's got such a collection of world music that anybody would be mind blown with if you sat and had an afternoon with him. Every time I see him, he plays me new stuff, or he'll often send me all kinds of music from all over the world and stuff I've never heard before. And so, I get inspired by hearing, all these different types of music from all over the world that you're not used to hearing, and you realize that you can kind of tap into all of it. It's like really, if you hear it and you find it amazing, and it's inspiring to make you move in some different directions. And so I'm constantly experimenting. I really love the wild stuff that I've been coming up with, not only on stage with Dean and the guys, and, we do this long version of La Do Da Today, and we kind of go off on this, early Miles Davis 70s, extension of the song that's pretty avant-garde for Journey. Even it's avant-garde compared to our early stuff. And so, and the audience is loving it. And that's the thing that I think is so cool, that you should never just go, wait a minute, we need to stay inside this box here. If you don't stay inside that box, nobody's going to listen to it. Everybody's going to walk out, or they're going to go get something to drink. They're going to go to the restroom. A lot of people have told me that for years. Nobody's going to listen to that. Well, apparently they are. And I love it. I love it that a lot of the younger audience, they didn't grow up on the stuff that we grew up on. They didn't see all the great bands that I got to see, all the, late 60s and 70s coming out of England, and more experimental bands and fusion bands. And, it was so musical in that era. And it is just really not like that anymore. But, I see clearly our audience keeps on getting younger and younger. If you come to one of our other shows, you'll see it's like, I don't know, 5 generations now.
Oh,
and,
easily.
it seems like it gets younger and younger, and that the more you lay on them, the more they love it. And so that's exciting to me, that you don't have to stay in a box and play exactly the same thing every night.
And the other thing about it, Neal, is that even if some of these people do drift at some of those moments, they all know that they ain't going anywhere, because they know they're still going to get Lights and Don't Stop Believin' and Separate Ways and all that stuff, so that you've got those big anchor tunes that it's like, okay, even if somebody's not down to take that trip with you, they know that, okay, I'm going to check this out, but I can't go anywhere because I gotta get ready to hear, Any Way You Want It or whatever it is, So you've got those huge songs that you can't not play, and they're always going to be in the set.
It's a different reaction, Eddie. Your hits get a huge reaction because they recognize it right away, right? From the second one to when it ends. The stuff that I'm talking about is sort of like a lot of the concerts that I saw when I was a kid, maybe 13, going to see, whether it was Jeff Beck, Zeppelin, The Who, Jimi Hendrix, all those great bands. The audience didn't freak out and go nuts after every song. They just didn't. They sat there and they listened and they enjoyed it. And so it's great to have both of those sides, is what I'm saying, where people actually sit there and they listen. And then they react in the end. Like when we're playing like Of a Lifetime right now, which is off our first album, right? And people are mesmerized by it. By the end, you can hear, even while I have the in-ears, you hear the whole audience go, like they got taken and you took them high and in a different way. And so it makes them appreciate the other stuff even more so. It works both ways.
Yeah, no, totally. I picked up on that when I came to the show in Vegas even. Let me ask you about Arnel. How is he doing? And there was some, I guess, stuff online and where people were questioning whether he actually wanted to do this. Obviously he does. He just added 40 more shows. But where are you at with him? I mean, he seemed to be holding up really well when I saw him in Vegas vocally and doing great and looks super happy up there. But, there's been some conflicting stuff like that. Do you want to clear anything up on that front?
It's all I can say is the media is the media. We did a Rolling Stone article before our first show on the first leg. And, Arnel went first and I went second. By the time they got to me, I had a whole lot of, answering to do, questions that they were thrown at me. And I was like, what? A lot of it I didn't know anything about, Arnel seems very happy to me right now. He's got his kids with him. He's happy out here on tour. We're having a blast. He's holding up very well. I think it's helped to have the other guys sing, a song or two here and there because of the length of the set. But, I don't really know what to think. I look at it like it's clickbait,
Yeah.
There's so many. It's like every other day you open up, I'll look at Facebook or whatever, and it has somebody's birthday, right? And I have to go check it to see if it's a real birthday or it's just BS. Because I don't know why they're doing it, but they put it up every other day. It's my birthday, or I died like a month ago, or Greg Raleigh died. It's so crazy. It's just clickbait. And so you can't believe everything you read. The fact that we already have, we were going to initially do these other 40 shows. It was planned to be done in 27. And we said, well, we got great momentum going on right now, and we're having a great time. Let's just do it this year. And everybody agreed. Let's go. And so it's been very positive, and, he's been in a great frame of mind, and all of us have kind of pulled it together, Things were straying a bit. I think we had a lot of time off, Eddie, when you're together this long as a band and you take 9 months off and nobody works. Everybody goes, like all over the place. We don't all live in San Francisco like we used to, and you can get together and just jam or whatever. Arnel's in Manila. He's doing his thing. John's in Florida. Dean's in Oregon with Todd, and Jason is in Nashville, so everybody's spread out, and I'm still in San Francisco. And so I think it just takes a while for everybody to click again when you've been off for that long. I felt like 9 months was way too long to take off and not at least get together and do a couple shows.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and your point about the internet, I literally tell my audience that every day on this show, because there's even stuff with me out there that's erroneous and people make up, or with AI and all these things that people can do. It's unbelievable what happens. I was telling a story the other day. My mom, who's 85 years old, she calls me every day because she recently started on Facebook, and she's telling me, "Oh, I just heard this story." I go, "Ma, it's not real." Well, I'm looking at a photo. I go, "Mom, that's AI. That's not real. That's not happening. I know these people. That's not true." It's crazy, man. And you just hope that people start to realize that. Even what I do, I'll have somebody tell me something. I'll be on the air and they'll be like, "Hey," and I go, "Nope, I'm not even going to say that out of my mouth until I confirm it with an authorized source," because it's crazy out there. It's crazy trying to navigate this stuff.
It is crazy. You don't know what to believe anymore. I mean,
yeah.
I think people are starting to get hip to it, but AI is pretty incredible what can be done, and make people believe things that are not true. And, they can emulate your voice. There's an interview, like someone's taping this right now, right?
Oh, yeah.
They'll tape
100%.
my voice. They can throw it into AI, and they can make up this whole script, and it'll seem like I'm the one that's saying it, but I'm not.
Yeah, 100%.
So It's pretty wild out there. They don't have any laws yet. I think, it needs some tightening up. It could use some tightening up from the government, if nobody else, about what you can do and what you can't do, because I think it is very confusing to a lot of people. And I don't really see the purpose of it, except for somebody just having some fun, like, watch this. Oh, I can fool them, let's do this. A lot of people take it seriously, I don't know.
Where are you at with it as far as music is concerned? Because that's a big, big hot button right now. And I talk to a lot of friends of mine that are musicians, and they're worried about what it's going to do, and fake AI bands, which are making this music, and who's writing with it, who's using it as an assist tool, who's not using it at all. Where do you land on it, and have you dabbled in it at all? Because I haven't personally, just in my own life. I probably should, because it's inevitable that it's going to be applied to something. But have you done anything with it from a creative perspective?
Out of curiosity, when it first happened, I did dabble with it in a sense where I just wrote down my idea, right? What type of riff it was, or I hummed a riff into it just out of curiosity to see what it would spit back at. And I was like, this is insane, okay? Some of it was so good and some of it was so terrible. And, I'm not really worried about it like some people are worried about it. I think they're mostly worried about voices, the fact that they can take anybody's voice and make it sound like, who do you want to sound like? And they can change it and make it sound like that. I think, singers, I can see why they would be, troubled by this. But I really feel that it's not a good thing. I checked it out. It was pretty amazing what can be done in AI. But it doesn't mean to me that anyone's going to take the place of a real musician. It'll play parts. It'll cop styles, but everything sounds the same. Like right now, I've been listening to some, there's a big, giant, like a bunch of different blues and R&B artists that are on Instagram. And, I'm listening, I'm going, wow, these voices, they sound really amazing. And then, I noticed that they have the same type of sibilance, the way it's recorded, the echo that they're using, same guitar player, like in every track, right? Playing the same blues licks. And so I can tell when it's AI, when it's not. I think most people can at this point. The fact that, they're making up these artists, they're making up their image, they're selling albums, right, and are not even real is pretty bizarre. And I think, people are starting to come cracking down on it right now. I saw that some guy got sued for millions of dollars, like about a month ago, for, making everybody believe it was a real artist and was selling tons of music online. I think it's not good. I would not recommend it. Not even as a tool. I think if you need a tool like that, things are scary. I think it takes like the food out of everybody's mouth that's an actual musician. And I don't think, I read something the other day, even about China, that they're not going to replace human beings with robots. Like you're hearing, all these large companies are going to replace real human jobs because the robots are more efficient and this and that. I'm hearing that China is not going to do. I think that's a great move. I think you can't go that direction. Otherwise, it'll be a very scary world.
Yeah, no doubt. Journey just added a bunch more shows on the Final Frontier tour. If you go to journeymusic.com, you can see all the dates. And Neal, when I scroll through these dates and I look at them all, it's also, speaking of, potentially the end, if it is a final run here or for this band or this version of the band, the last show, tellingly, and this would make sense, is in San Francisco, where, of course, the band was founded and you are based. Is that, as far as you know, as it stands, November 28th, San Francisco, is that, as of now, the final Journey show? Do you look at that as a farewell show?
It is, as far as I know so far. As you know, farewell tours can go on and on and on. We have nothing planned after that. We do have 3 shows in Hawaii that are not up yet, and we're playing in Japan. That's not up yet. I think it's maybe been advertised a bit in Fukuoka. But that's about it right now. That's all I know. We haven't discussed anything else beyond that. But you know what? I'm going to say anything is possible.
For you, if say Journey does stop after November 28th, and you obviously clearly still want to play, and I know that you've kind of alluded to maybe doing a different sort of band or a different variation on the Journey stuff, or you've actually done that where you've gotten Greg Raleigh and done some stuff. Is that where you want to head? Where do you, if November 28th is the end, where do you want to go personally? What can you tell us?
Well, you know what? I think that wherever I go, inevitably, I'm taking a big portion of the Journey with me because it's been my life. And I've been there. I'm the only one left that's been on every single, tour date that we've ever done and every record that we've ever made and recorded every song that we've ever done. And so, I mean, it's kind of like my baby, I'm going to take it. I'm going to do something. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do, but I see, I really do like the jam aspect because that's where the band started. And I can see like doing a branch off of somewhat like what we're doing now, but maybe even take it a bit further, musically. And, you have the Dead is, not here any longer. There's a huge audience. You have Fish, that's doing quite well still. You have Dave Matthews that's in this jam room. I consider myself in that area there and could easily put something together that could take over a big portion of that market. And I think, it would be like the Dead on steroids for real. And I'm quite interested in that. No matter what happens with the band as it is right now, we could end up, doing a longer farewell tour than what it is right now. I really don't know. But I know that there's other places that I can go and that it won't all stop for me.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll see how you feel and how everybody feels when we reach the end of the year. But as of now, as you mentioned, San Francisco is the final date on the Final Frontier tour on the 28th of November. Obvious question here, Neal, and I know that it's been widely reported. People speculate, as we just talked about online. If that is the last date in San Francisco, have you had any dialogue? Has there been any communication with you and Steve Perry at all on any front? Are you guys talking in any way? Have you communicated?
We have not spoken in quite some time. No, I think actually the last time you asked me, I had not spoken to him. I haven't spoken to him since then. Is it possible? Yeah. He has to be willing. And, my door is always open. Eddie, I'm very open-minded. And, I have nothing but great respect for everybody that's ever been in this band, for real, I think we all worked very, very hard to make it a staple as it is. And so I feel great about everyone.
And it feels like, though, with Steve and yourself, there is a connection here that no matter how long and how much time goes by, though, it feels to me as an outsider like it's a brotherhood between the two of you because of what you created and because of, his vocal, your guitar playing, the writing, obviously what John brought to it as a writer as well and everything. But it just seems like one of the reasons why I think that continues to loom out there is not only because of Steve's voice and everything, but just what you guys created, right? It's a very, very special thing. 100 million albums sold. Don't Stop Believin'. I saw recently Forbes announced the biggest song of all time. That's just like surreal stuff. And that's a rare group of people that created that, man. That's crazy.
It is crazy. I'm still kind of like, pinching myself. Like you just brought it up and someone says it to me and I kind of like say, it is surreal. It's so surreal to me that I don't quite believe that it's real, but it is real. And I'm seeing it night after night, and I'm seeing it all over the world, okay, in markets that we've never played. Y'all see clips of people singing that song at a football game or whatever they're playing it at, and they're all singing it, no matter where they're at in the world. And so I find it just like fascinating. It's amazing, I believe, what we've accomplished and written together. And the fact that they say it is the biggest song ever in time, and that's just really like mind-boggling to me.
And it gets bigger. And then, Neal, the crazy thing is to me, and I'm 61 years old, and I remember Journey coming out, when I first discovered the band and everything. But and I can attest to this coming to the shows and just being in the business. The catalog gets bigger. Like if it's I don't know if it's possible for Don't Stop Believin' to get bigger, but it just goes to these new generations, which you're obviously seeing out at the shows, but even deeper into the catalog. Like the other day, I forget what TV commercial it was playing Any Way You Want It. I'm like, it's the depth of the catalog and the usage is crazy.
There's a big surge, especially with the younger audience, of our earlier albums, like from Infinity, Evolution, and Departure. All the songs that are on those albums, when we play them live, it's getting massive reaction. Look at Lights, man.
Lights.
You have to come to one of our shows, and Dean is singing that now, right? He's behind a drum kit, and the whole place is lit up, and they're all singing at the top of their lungs. That's become an anthem, even though it was never even put out as a single. So you got songs like Love and Touchin' that were put out as a single and always gets a huge reaction. But like a song like Lights and Wheel in the Sky that were never really released as singles, those have become like monster classics.
As have the ballads. Who's Crying Now, Faithfully. It's crazy what's going on with those too. I just saw it firsthand a couple weeks ago.
Right. And, the guitar solo and Who's Crying Now is such a crazy thing because, people ask me about it all the time. I remember when John and Steve brought the song in, and I didn't quite know what to do with it, and I was in the studio, and I was really, trying to outplay the song a bit in the end. And I was trying to emulate a trumpet. I was trying to jazz it up. I was trying all kinds of stuff. And our producers at the time, Kevin Elson and Mike Stone, Kevin says, Neal, knock it up, man. He says, just play something freaking simple. Play something simple. And I was like really kind of just ticked off at the time because nothing I was trying was working. So I came up with that melody, right, that it starts on. And I just figured, okay, they said, play something simple. And I played the simplest thing I could think of. And this is what they hum now in the song, the whole audience, right? And I saw in some poll the other day that it's like number 8 in the top guitar solos ever. And I'm like, this is crazy. It's all surreal to me, but it becomes bigger every night too. That is just, there's no end. Even though this is the end, Eddie, I don't see this music stopping ever.
No.
It's etched in stone, and it keeps on getting more popular. I mean, we're experiencing something that usually never happens. Okay, with bands and with all the changes that we've been through too, just never happens. You have your haters out there and go, oh, they're a tribute band. Oh, they're this, oh, they're that. You know what, man? I've been here since the beginning, so there is no tribute band for me. I've been here since the beginning. There's been lots of changes, but the audience is willing to go along with it. And so, I don't know how you can knock something like that.
Neal, I appreciate all the time. I won't keep you much longer, I promise. But I love talking to you. I love hearing about all this stuff. Real quick, how much do you credit the usage of The Sopranos when it appeared in The Sopranos? How much? It seems to me like that. I mean, Journey was always a huge band. You always sold a tremendous amount of records, but it just seems like that, I don't know, put the band in a whole nother realm of connecting to people. Do you think that as well? Do you think the usage in that was in the final episode of The Sopranos was a big thing that brought it to another level as well?
I was mind boggled. I didn't know anything about it. I saw an email like probably about a year before it actually came to be real, that they were considering it, and I never thought anything about it. I did like the show. I used to watch it all. And one night that did end their series, I was busy and I couldn't watch it, and my phone was just blown up. Everybody that knows me was calling to say, did you just see that? And so I had to go. I went on YouTube to check it out, and I was just like, wow, that is incredible that it ends up on a cappella of Don't Stop Believing. Yeah. That is the end. I'm like, that's incredible. So I think that was a huge kick in the ass for us, And that and another show that I wasn't so sure about when it first came out, but ended up really bringing a way younger audience once they dug into our catalog was Glee.
Oh, I never saw that.
Yeah, it was, I looked at it like it was a kid's show. And when it came out, I was like, not so sure about it, but it ended up being a very big show, and it brought in a really young audience for us, made them aware of Don't Stop Believing. But then I noticed that they would dive into the albums after that, and they started listening to all the rest of the music, and it caught on like wildfire, And so I think between those two shows and the band just continuing to, motor through everything that's going on, personnel changes, everything, just kept it moving, and in a good, healthy direction.
Hey, last thing, and I'll let you go on this. So much attention is paid, obviously, to Journey for the reasons we just talked about. But for people that really know your career, In addition to Santana, there's a bunch of other things bands you've been a part of and contributed to. Whether it was Bad English, whether it was HSAS, a record I love that you did with Sammy back in the day, the Hardline records, your solo records. Of all the stuff that you've done outside of Journey, is there anything there that you feel is kind of like unfinished business that you'd like to maybe revisit at some point? Maybe especially if this configuration of Journey winds down, is there any of those bands that appeal to you, or where you feel there's maybe some unfinished business?
Well, that's a tough question. Usually when you move on, I've always loved working with Sammy. Him and I have been friends forever, and we keep in touch. And so I'm open-minded to doing stuff with Sam on the side, whether it's like, last time I actually worked with Sammy, it was funny. I was watching a football game on a Sunday at home, and he calls me up and he goes, "Hey, Scan," he says, "Man, I'm in the studio with Michael Anthony and Chad. Why don't you grab an axe and stop by Bananas and pick up a Marshall head and come down here? We're going to cut a version of Going Down for my album." So I did. I just left the house, grabbed the guitar, stopped off at my friend's music store, Bananas at Large in San Rafael, picked up a Marshall head, walked in the studio, plugged it in, Craig dimed everything out, and we did one take, and it's on Sammy's album of Going Down,
Yeah.
It was one take, and it was like ballistic. And I went, "That's it. What are you going to do? We can't do a second take, But, it's cool just to get up and move without thinking too much sometimes when people give you a call. John Wade sounds phenomenal. I was trying to talk to him for a while, and, he's in his own world out there. But his voice sounds really, really killer, I think. I'm hearing him.
I saw him recently. I saw John Waite sing recently. I was amazed at how good he sang a Zeppelin song too at the end of his set. I couldn't believe it. I mean, I talked to him for a little bit after the show. I saw him about less than a year ago. Amazing.
I'm with you, man. I when I heard him sing the Zeppelin stuff, I was like, son of a bitch, that is so freaking good. I can't.
When I heard him, Neal,
when
I heard him sing Zeppelin, first thing I thought of is if Jimmy Page ever did want to go out and play with somebody again, that's the guy he should call because he could still sing it. I mean, John Waite could sing that stuff perfectly. It was incredible.
Paul Rogers is another one.
Yeah.
I felt like we definitely had unfinished business, and he's gone through a lot in the past years.
Yes.
But I'm hoping he's going to pop back out again. I saw that he did a little, like 3 songs or something with a bunch of different guitar players in LA pretty recently. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed for him because he's always been one of my favorite singers. And I had such a blast playing with him, with Dean and Todd, who are now in Journey, right? Yeah. And they were in Hardline with me before that. And so we had such a good time playing with Paul. I mean, we did a 2-hour show, and we played everything in his repertoire. We played, we played Free. We played Muddy Water Blues. That was his album that was out at the time. We played The Firm. We did, Jimi Hendrix. I think we did 6 Jimmy tunes with Paul singing. And it was electrifying, man. It's too bad that it was only one show that was ever recorded because we had so many phenomenal shows. And there's only really crappy, like telephone recordings that I could find that somebody put up, and the sound is so bad, but the band was smoking. And so, I love Paul, and I'm wishing him the best. I hope he comes back out swinging.
Yeah, me as well. He's awesome and still can sing. And he did get up and do a couple songs at a benefit show in Palm Springs that Matt Sorum put together. So I was glad to see he was able to come out for that.
Saw, right. It was Nuno and a few other guys, and I was like, wow, good for him. I'm glad to see him singing. Yeah, man. There's always going to be something that's going to pop out. You know, and I like doing things that I'm not so used to doing as well. You know, I like the challenge of just moving into some fresh areas.
Well, what about last thing? I promise you, I keep saying that, I know, but last thing, what about a journey movie, whether a biopic or a documentary? Does that interest you? Is there any talk about that?
Absolutely. There's a lot of talk about that right now.
Which one, the doc or a biopic?
Biopic.
So an acted film.
A biopic. And, you know, I think it's an incredible story if it's told really correctly. Like I was just sharing some stories with my wife and some friends about the first time I ever met Perry. Okay? This is really crazy. I wasn't going to tell you about it, but it's such a cool story. And I think I see the movie starting like this. Okay, so I'm in San Francisco, and I'm sitting in with a band called Azteca that I played on the record, and it was a band that Coke Escobedo and Pete, his father, put together. It was sort of a spin-off of Santana. Mm-hmm. And they wanted me to come play a live show. So I'm playing at the Kabuki Theater in San Francisco, and a good friend of mine that was in the Santana Road crew, Jackie Villanueva, was there. And I got done playing, and he goes, "Hey, bro," he says, "can you do me a favor? I got my cousin's here, and he has a friend, and he needs a ride to his car. Will you give him a ride to your car?" And I said, "Sure." And I was like being my own roadie that night. I grabbed my twin reverb, and I grabbed my Strat, and I stuck it in the car, and I took this guy to his car, and it was Steve Perry. And
wow.
I didn't know
was he there just checking out the band? Was he just in the audience?
Apparently, he was like following me as a guitar player, you know, and what I was doing. And so I didn't know that he was a singer, right? We barely talked. I gave him a ride to the car and said, "Nice meeting you," you know, and dropped him off. Okay, so about a month or two later, we're playing down in L.A., and I believe we're playing the Roxy or one of those clubs on Hollywood Boulevard. I can't remember if it was a Starwood or Roxy, one of those clubs. And the guy, he comes up to the backstage door, and he knocks on it, and I open it, and it's Perry. And he says, "Hey, you remember me?" He gave me a ride in the car. He says, "You guys, you know, are you looking for a singer?" He was like following the early journey, right? And I said, "I don't think we're looking for a singer right now. We have Greg Raleigh, you know, that's doing all the lead vocals. But this is, you know, nobody knows that part of the story, and it's absolutely true. And, you know, the story that's out there, that's been out there for years, is later Herbie Herbert got a cassette recording of his original band that was about to be signed to CBS at the time. And, you know, he played it for us, and Greg and I were like, kind of like, I don't know, you know, we didn't know quite what to think. And Herbie's like, "Well, this is going to be your singer. He's it, man." And we went, okay. And just, you know, went with the flow. And, you know, Steve and I got together and we started writing. We realized we had great chemistry. But, you know, I think that a biopic on Journey, massive. Massive, massive, massive. And, you know, I could see it being a Netflix series even, you know,
sure,
that could be whittled down into a shorter version for a movie. But there's so much there, Eddie, that's happened. And so many great stories. And even, you know, the way I see it is like you started like that, but then way later in the movie, you go to my beginning that happened with Santana. It was incredible stories in Santana. It doesn't have to start at the beginning, though. You know, like some movies, they pull it in at the very end. But, you know, there is a lot of talks I'm having with some, you know, very heavyweight people that I've made some amends with. And, you know, I'm really hopeful that something could be happening in the near future, maybe even in 27.
Yeah. When you think about the story, when you think about the enormity of the catalog, which we talked about, and how it's connected with so many different generations, it would make all the sense in the world. And I think it would be, right up there with this, the Queen one or the Elton one or whichever ones you want to talk about. I mean, it's definitely a deserving band, and a band that at this point with the story. And here's the other thing, Neal, and we'll close on this. The story keeps going because we don't know when it's going to end or how it's going to end.
That's the beauty of the name Journey. It keeps moving.
It does. Well, listen, man, I always love talking to you, and I appreciate you taking time to be on the show. And everybody check out Journey. The tour resumes tomorrow in Tampa, and you can go to journeymusic.com wherever in the country you're listening. There's probably a date coming near you because there's like 40 more dates. Japan going to be announced, Hawaii going to be announced. And we've got some stuff we're on in Canada as well. So for our Canadian listeners, you're going to get there. And as of now, as we talked about, November 28th is the end. But it sounds like the journey and the story is going to keep rolling, I think.
Oh, the story is going to keep rolling, no doubt. So we got 70 shows now in front of us that start tomorrow night. And it's pretty, everybody's like, wow, that's incredible, And no, I didn't have to twist Arnel's arm. He wanted to do it. It's so funny that I get blamed. I'm always like the guy that everybody blames Eddie. Neal's making Arnel do this. Neal's doing this. Neal's doing that. It's all this clickbait, right? But I'm always like the black sheep. I didn't twist anybody's arm, man. Arnel, agreed to do it, and he looked at the dates and he said, yes, I want to do this. And so anything else that comes out after that, people just like to take shots at me. I'm used to it. It's like my skin is tough though, bro.
Yeah, well, at this point, you've seen and heard it all, so I would think that would be the case for sure. So, anybody that's in this business a long time, man, I'm 43 years in this business. I've seen and heard it all as well. It's funny. It's like, have at it online. Say whatever you want, man. I'm confident in the fact that, I've been doing it this long and I'm still doing it. And I just, had Neal Schon take an hour out of his day to talk to me. So I'm good putting my head on the pillow at night knowing that. And, the social media warriors can have at it from there, man. We know what the deal is. Yeah,
it's a crazy world out there.
It is.
Getting crazier by the day, it seems, but fascinating too. It's fascinating. The whole AI thing is fascinating to me. I mean, the one cool thing I can tell you that has been good for me is writing legal letters when I have to, rather than relying on attorneys that'll never tell you the frickin' truth and rob you blind. It's like I've gotten really good at it. If you throw all your contracts in there and you throw all your information in there and it knows who all the players are, whatever you're talking about, once it learns your vocabulary, and then if you know how to explain exactly what you want to do and you're completely correct about what you're talking about because you understand your contracts or whatever you're putting in there, it's mind-boggling how it can pull it all together for you in 2 seconds flat. So there are benefits to that, but I don't think it's music.
Yeah, no, I agree. I've seen some stuff too that's blown me away, and like anything, it's a two-edged sword, pro and con to everything. So you hopefully the bulk of it is used for the good. Listen, man, again, I can't thank you enough. Good luck on this next run coming up, starting again tomorrow in Tampa, and everybody go see your dates. And I'm definitely going to get out there to one of these. For lack of a better term, normal environments, watching the full show, and hope to see you soon.
You got to come see it, man. We have probably one of the best productions we've ever done because we've never really been a big production band. We've always had good sound and good lights, and so we just expanded on that. Not a lot of trickery, no tricks really, just a big stage. It was my idea to kind of go back to the 80s stage that people have seen live in Houston, 81, two-level stage. And so we went back to that, and it's massive looking, and it does sound very good now that we've got it all dialed. At first, I looked across the stage and everybody looked like they were a mile away, but it's really pulled together nicely.
You know, there's one thing I know I keep saying I'll let you go, but there's one thing I got to tell the audience. They may not know this, but you mentioned that Journey was never a big production band. But what people may not know, and you correct me if I'm wrong on this, Neal, but you guys were the ones that were the first to put video screens up on the stage back in the early 80s, right? You were the first to put projection up, right?
Right. Well, you know what? At the time, our manager and everybody was claiming that we were the first, but then I saw Elvis.
Wow.
Saw Elvis in Vegas, and he had a screen in back of him. So, you know, I think that we were the first rock band to ever do it. And then, you know, we had our company, Nocturne, that everybody in the band actually was partial owner in it when we started out. And we did everybody. We did Michael Jackson. We did Madonna. We did all the biggest tours, U2, and became a massive company. It wasn't a big money-making proposition because the equipment would get so old so quick. The new technology was always around the corner. Well, we made this much this year, but we have to buy all new equipment to compete with all the other companies that are now trying to, you know, push us out. And so it was one of those scenarios, but still quite a statement. You know, we did all the biggest bands in the world, and yeah, we were the first rock band to have it. And it was Herbie's idea, our original manager, because we were playing stadiums and people way up in the back in the nosebleeds, you know, we looked like ants on stage, and he wanted a way to make it, you know, more intimate for people that were really far away. So it did work. And it's only gotten better, you know, the production.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, people take that for granted. Every show you go to, you see a screen, you know, hanging on either side of the stage or behind the stage. You get these big close-ups of people playing Journey. Well, even if you were the second band to ever do it, being second to the king is not a bad thing. So you'll take that, right?
Yeah, I love it.
There you go. Hey, man, listen, again, safe travels out there. Stay in touch, and I appreciate all the time today.
You're welcome, man. I look forward to seeing you. Next time you come, have somebody, if Mike is out there with you, you know, I saw a picture with you and Mike. I go, why didn't Mike bring him back? You know?
Well, he said he was going to, but then he was trying to navigate how to photograph the show because it was not a traditional show. So he was like, I don't know where I'm going to get my angles. And he's like walking around the pools and he's like, I don't know where I'm going to shoot from. I said, go do your thing, man. So, it's all good, man. We'll definitely hang next time. I look forward to it.
Okay, Eddie. Great talking to you, buddy.
You
Have
too,
a great
man.
day.
Thanks. Take care, buddy. There's Neal Schon,
right,
everybody.
thanks.
See ya. Neal giving us an hour today. That is just, again, I say it all the time. That is the good stuff, man. When you can just rip for an hour and talk about anything and everything with these artists. That is just so special and cool for me. And hopefully you listening as well. And it's a real awesome thing that, you know, I get the opportunity to do with some of these people who are so generous with their time and so just forthcoming. You know, I say it all the time. You take artists when you can get them, how you can get them. But when you get the 15, 20-minute blow-bys to just do a quick promo hit, it is what it is. You get what you can get. You know, we had that with Phil Collins last week. I was honored to have Phil on the show, but yeah, I could have easily done what we just did with Neal with Phil Collins. Would have loved that, but I get it. You know, they're doing hits. They got to move to the next thing. So you get what you can get. You do the best you can. But what you can get somebody to just lay out, get comfortable, tell some stories. The story about meeting Steve Perry. I never heard that before. That was great. So really, really cool. Hope you guys enjoyed that with the founder of Journey. And it is true. The Journey story, you know, 50 plus years in, gets bigger and bigger. Like it's one of these things where it's like, it doesn't matter who's in the band. The music has gotten bigger than anything. Like it just, every TV commercial, every movie, whatever, and Don't Stop Believin', just at a whole different level, whether it was the Sopranos that did it or whatever, it is just nuts. And you go to one of these shows and you're just going to see 15,000 people singing every word. And it's interesting what Neal talked about in that interview. because them jamming and spreading out is something I definitely picked up on, even though the show that I saw a couple weeks ago in Vegas was not a traditional show. They even did it there. And yeah, there's going to be some people that are going to kind of like check out a little bit during that because it's not the hits. But like I said, they don't go anywhere because they got to hear Don't Stop Believin', and it's probably going to be at the end of the set. It may be the last song. You could sit there and play accordion for an hour. Nobody's leaving because they're waiting for that one big song. And in the case of Journey, they've got about 10 songs of that level. So it's really amazing to see what's happened. And look, reading between the lines there in that interview and my NBEE mantra of no band ever ends, right now, as we talked about, November 28th is the last Journey show. San Francisco, as Neal said, there's nothing after that. But as you clearly heard in that interview, he has no intention of stopping. So it could definitely easily grow another head. It could easily continue. Like he said, farewells go for a long time these days. We talk about it all the time. So who knows when we get a little closer to the end of the year what that looks like. But that guy has no interest in stopping playing. And again, he's still very, very much at the top of his game. So there's no reason for him to stop. And what he kept talking about with seeing me was in Vegas, somebody had left me the wrong credential pass when I got to the show. And he was looking for me to come back. I couldn't get back. He tried to get me the right pass. And then I split just before the end of the show to beat the traffic out of there because it was nuts. And then he texted me, he was like, "Where are you?" And I was like, it just got all kind of mucked up. But that happens. It's all good. I'll definitely spend some time face-to-face with him next time at another show. But really appreciate him being super generous with his time and always being so cool to me. And just amazing the story of Journey as it continues. And yes, absolutely prime opportunity for a movie, a biopic for sure. All right. If you missed anything, if you just tuned in, you missed an hour with Neal Schon talking Journey. If you would like to hear it, you know the deal. The SiriusXM app is your friend. All you got to do is go to the app, rewind, or start over at the beginning of the show. And you can hear that interview again in its entirety or whenever you want on demand. We will take a break. Tomorrow is Free For All Friday. All you on the calls. We'll get a jump start on that. When we come back, we'll have time to get a few calls in today on the show, whether you want to comment on the interview you just heard.
For all things rock.
Amazing show.
News, interviews, and your sounding board to talk all things, well, Trunk Nation with Eddie Trunk. SiriusXM.
Just awesome.
Faction Talk.
So two huge interviews this week in terms of just depth and level of guest. Jason Newsted on Tuesday. We got all kinds of stuff from Jason. Metallica, his Chop House band and tour. Even some stuff on the Van Halen thing, which I think people forgot about, that he was approached about that, where that all came from a few years ago. Metallica reissues, Metallica at the Sphere, how Jason started playing bass, which I thought was an incredible story. If you missed it, it's on the app, but he basically was exposed to Kiss and was playing guitar. And then he saw Gene Simmons, decided I want to play that, and pulled 2 strings off of his guitar and made it a bass. And that's how he got into playing bass. Crazy story. It's great. So go back and listen to Jason if you missed it. And of course, minutes ago, just wrapped up an hour straight with Neal Schon of Journey. That's on the app. And of course, don't forget, yesterday we had a really interesting show covering tribute bands. And we had Ian from the band Brit Floyd on, one of the biggest tribute bands out there. And that was a really interesting conversation, which touched off a lot of discussion online and the debate about tribute bands. I just asked Neal Schon about how he feels about tributes. And he was pretty open to it and pretty cool about it, and said he thinks Journey may have more than anybody at this point, which is also interesting. I don't know factually what the exact count is, if there's a ranking of that, but I'm sure they would be up there. I would think there's a lot for Kiss. But yeah, I mean, there's, a lot of Van Halens, a lot of Zeppelins, certainly. There's Pink Floyds, but not that many, because I think the Pink Floyd stuff is so much more complex to do it in a certain way. But yeah, so interesting stuff. We can chew on all of that. We can take your calls on any of that or anything else you want. Again, 844-686-5863. I've got about 10 minutes left in today's show, and then we are back live tomorrow to wrap it up at 3 Eastern. And, of course, do nothing but your calls to close out the week and recap everything. All right, let's Jamie in Kentucky's been waiting since the beginning of the show, so let's get him in here. Jamie, thank you for waiting. You're on the air.
You're welcome, Eddie. Great show as always.
Thank you.
Real quick on the tribute bands. I think you were talking about Mr. Speed yesterday. I was going to call in and say they're
yes,
my favorite Kiss tribute band.
Yes. What is the story? Well, Jamie, real quick, what's the story with them? Because I think they're the ones that played at the Kiss Vegas thing last year. I didn't see them, but I think they did that, right?
Yeah. In the last 2 years, they've been kind of doing the Dynasty Unmasked era. And I don't know, they're pumping a lot of money into the show. They look just like 1980 Kiss. It's great. And then there's the clip I saw. Wait, real quick. The clip I saw online was Dynasty, and this is getting super geeky, but it was the Dynasty set with Eric Carr playing drums, which would have meant it was like the Australian version of that show, and it was right down to the way Paul Stanley sang Detroit Rock City. The singer was singing it, and that sort of phrasing. I got a kick out of it because I'm a super Kiss nerd, so I picked up on that. It was really, really cool. Oh, yeah. And then there's one other band. Have you ever heard of Hairball?
Yeah, they came up a bunch yesterday, but they're not, they're great at what they do, and they do huge business as well, but they're more about the era than tributing a specific act. There's a difference between cover bands, and I guess you could say they're tributing an era, but I was more talking yesterday about bands that play the music of one band, and the whole thing is built on that.
Yeah, they're really cool because he'll have like this guy named Dave Moody from Louisville. He'll do he's like Gene Simmons. He'll do a Kiss 3 songs, and then the next guy's getting ready, and he'll come out and do Def Leppard or Twisted Sister or whatever, and it's just really, really good. So if you get a chance to see them, go see them. They're excellent. You would love it. It's a lot of fun. But thanks again. Thanks for everything.
Thank you, Jamie. Yeah, there's a few bands out there that do that. There was one that was doing a show in Vegas there was Rock Vault in Vegas, and then that ended, and then it became, I think, Icons of Rock, but that, I believe, is ending too, and that was on the Strip at the Hard Rock restaurant. I actually saw that. Fitz and Kearns were playing in that the night I went. That was similar too, where it was like somebody came out looking like Pat Benatar, somebody came out looking like Vince Neil, whatever. Those are different, and I know Hairball is one of the biggest in that world. But that's a little different thing than what I'm talking about. It's still a tribute, but focus of what I was talking about yesterday was mainly people that are literally doing tributes to just one band and the music of one band, not necessarily an era. And then, there's the debate, and I was even talking to a friend off air who has a Journey tribute before I came on the air today, a big Journey tribute, Voyage. And he was telling me that, they intentionally do not try to look like anybody in Journey. They just want to play the music as best they can. But then there are other bands that do cultivate the look, put on wigs, makeup, whatever it is, the same clothing. So that's another different thing. Yesterday in the show, this Zeppelin tribute, Get the Let Out, came up, who do not at all look like Zeppelin. They don't have the same configuration on stage, but it's spot on in terms of how they play it. So there's definitely different approaches to all of this. Here's Carlos, who's in Jacksonville, Florida, joining us today. Hi, Carlos.
Hey, Eddie, a couple quick things came up. One, when you and Neal were talking about the screens behind the stage, I remember at a Pink Floyd concert, June 7th, 1975 at Atlanta Fulton County Stadium. They had a Pink Floyd had a screen behind the stage where they showed all kinds of stuff. One of them was at the time, it was pretty unique. They showed, surgeons at like doing brain surgery, in an operating room. And so, I just wanted to mention that because I thought I heard one of you say that, Journey was the first in the 80s, but Pink Floyd was doing it in the 70s. And
the difference, Carlos, what we were talking about, and I should have probably been more specific, what Journey pioneered was, and according to Neal, it was actually Elvis that did it just before, but as far as like a rock, more of a hard rock thing, what we were talking about really with the screens was not images on the screen like that, but actually showing the band playing. You know what I'm saying? It was so seeing the band, like, so in other words, having cameras in the audience and actually putting the band as they play on the screen, which is of course the norm now, and everybody does it. But the first band to really do that in a big arena setting like that was Journey, because their manager had pioneered the equipment and the cameras. Remember, this is like late 70s, early 80s, and the ability to project the band as they play up there on the screen, and then turned it into a business, then ended up renting the equipment out to other touring bands, and that's how that whole thing got rolling.
Okay, I get it. Yeah, I didn't have the background. Well, the only other thing I wanted to throw out there I've been thinking about for a long time is not one of these kind of throwdown things, but your top 3 hard rock or metal songs, and they all have to be by different groups. And because I've been even trying this myself, it kind of firms out your audience. I think with everybody doing it together on like 1 or 2 days, you could kind of tell where your entire, have a snapshot of what people follow the most, and the very edges of your audience that listens.
All right, well, think about that, Carlos. Thank you. I appreciate it. We'll consider it. Joel can knock that around a little bit, and we'll think about it. Thank you. Here's Rick in Staten Island. Rick, go ahead. I got a minute or two. Finish up.
Okay, real quick, I just saw the Maiden documentary in the theater the other day. I was a little disappointed. The band wasn't in it. It was just them talking. You didn't see them. It was voiceovers. And it was just like a lot of fans talking about a lot of things. Nico stole the show. He's the only one who really blasted Bruce Dickinson for when he left the band and how he treated the band when he left. But I digress. I want you to clarify one thing for me. Well, after the movie ended, people were saying in the back of the theater, they were having arguments that, they said Paul Di'Anno was the original singer of Iron Maiden. He wasn't. It was Paul Day. It was Dennis Wilcox after him. I'm sick of hearing it. To me, the people who played on the first album and recorded the first major record label release are the original members. You're saying Glenn Tipton and Rob Halford are original members of Judas Priest? No one knows these other people. Can you clarify that for me? People are going crazy with this.
I agree 100%, Rick. I always say it. I look at the original lineup of a band to be the lineup that made the first record.
Not an original member of Metallica.
Every band had members in it before they got a record deal. Every band had people that were in it when they met in school. Judas Priest had Al Atkins as their singer just before. But okay, so you want to get technical, but the world sees a band as the lineup of the first record they got. That is the reality. And
that's why Dave Mustaine is not in the Hall of Fame with Metallica. He shouldn't be.
Right. Thank you, Rick. I got to run. But I've talked about that forever. Every band had a history before their first album with people that came and went. That's not really, it's relevant to the history of the band, but it's not relevant to fans because they weren't exposed to that in a large scale. So I've always felt that way. Thank you, Rick. Appreciate that call. Somebody's saying me the Sopranos song Caddyshack, not the Sopranos for Journey. Well, I was talking about Don't Stop Believin', which of course was the final thing heard in the last ever episode of The Sopranos. It's a massive moment. So Chris in Rochester, maybe there's a song in Caddyshack, I don't know, but of course Sopranos was an enormous moment with the Journey song. Okay, thank you guys. Thanks to Neal Schon. Appreciate you guys listening. Back tomorrow to wrap up the week. All your calls. Talk to you then.